Hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about Benjamin Atkins. If I do pronounce anything wrong, I do apologize, and I'm sorry if you hear any background noise. There are people cutting trees or trimming trees outside. Benjamin Thomas Atkins was born on August 26, 1968 in Detroit, the younger of two sons. His family lived in a poor neighborhood, and both of his parents were drug and alcohol abusers. Shortly after his birth, Tony's father left the family. In 1970, Benjamin's mother abandoned him, and he wound up in an orphanage, where he spent his childhood and youth. While living there, he was physically assaulted by the other children, and at the age of 10 was raped by one of the employees. Over the next 5 years, he was continuously subjected to sexual harassment by other boys, until he eventually escaped and reunited with his mother. For some time, he lived together with her and his older brother, but one day Tony realized that his mother worked as a prostitute. Due to this, both Atkins and his brother saw her have sex with clients at the house on several occasions. Disgusted with his mother's actions, he left the house again in the late 1980s. Living on the streets and doing drugs, and eventually developed a drug addiction. Because he lacked formal education, Atkins was forced to work in low-skilled labor jobs for low wages and spent the nights at homeless shelters in his free time. He frequented places inhabited by pimps and prostitutes, but was never arrested for any serious crimes. Most of his acquaintances claimed to be very fond of him, but at the same time, noted that when drunk or on drugs, he showed signs of antisocial personality and displayed misogynistic behavior. As victims, Atkins chose young and middle-aged destitute women, often prostitutes or drug addicts. He would lure them to abandoned buildings and houses, where he sexually assaulted and sodomized them. After strangling his victims, he would leave the bodies at the crime scene, with some of them discovered months after their deaths. The first victim to be discovered was 30-year-old Debbie Ann Friday, found on December 14, 1991, after she had gone missing on December 8. A few days later, on December 30th, the body of 26-year-old Bertha Jean Mason was found. She had gone missing on December 11th, and was last seen leaving her home and entering a store, after which she was never seen alive again. On January 3, 1992, while demolishing an abandoned house, workmen discovered the body of 36-year-old prostitute and drug addict Patricia Cannon George, who had been put on a wanted list in early December 1991 following a drug den bust within Woodward Corridor. On January 25th, the body of 39-year-old Vicky Truelove was located. Like the other victims, she had been sodomized, raped, and strangled. At the end of January, Atkins was arrested at an abandoned building and taken to the police station for interrogation. Due to lack of evidence to prove his guilt in the murders, he was released. On February 17th, the corpses of 3 women were found in 3 separate rooms in the former Monterey Hotel in Highland Park. They were 34-year-old Valerie Chalk, 23-year-old Juanita Hardy, and a Jane Doe, whose identity remained unknown. All of them had been sodomized and raped prior to their strangulations. Relatives of Chalk told the police that after she was put on a wanted list in early November 1991, Valerie went missing. On April 9th, the body of 28-year-old Brenda Mitchell was found in an abandoned house, after she had gone missing 4 days earlier with her 2 kids to go to the store. Mitchell was found almost completely naked, except for a scarf wrapped around her neck. A forensic examination determined that she had taken a lethal dose of drugs prior to her death, leading to her death being classified as an overdose. A few days later, on the 15th, the partially decomposed corpse of 27-year-old Vicki Beasley Brown, who was last seen alive on March 25th, was discovered on June 15th. On June 15th, the body of 45-year-old Joanne O'Rourke was found. Atkins was arrested on rape charges on August 21, 1992, after he was identified on a Detroit street by 34-year-old Darlene Saunders, who had been sodomized and raped by him in October 1991. He was questioned again but categorically denied any involvement, claiming that he had no interest in women and was a homosexual. After further interrogations, the police officers familiarized him with the psychological profile they had compiled of the killer, which after 12 hours caused Tony admit to the murders of 11 women. He described in detail the appearance and clothing of the victims and even indicated the whereabouts of the 10th and 11th victims, 21-year-old Oceana Waymer and 29-year-old Latanya Shawanda Smith. Their disappearances were not connected to the murders until Atkins' confession, and the bodies were found on the indicated place the same day. During the interrogation, Atkins said that the motive for the murders was his misogynistic views against girls and women engaged in prostitution. He stated that he lured his victims into abandoned houses by offering them drugs and alcohol, in addition to paying for their sexual services. Contrary to the official version of the investigation, Tony revealed that the first victim had actually been Patricia George, whom he killed in the fall of 1991. According to his testimony, he didn't plan on killing the women, but simply planned to smoke crack cocaine with her. When she decided to leave him, he flew into a rage and killed her. In several cases, he was unable to explain why he committed the murders. This was the case with Hardy, with whom Benjamin had an intimate relationship. But after doing drugs together, he sodomized and strangled her for no apparent reason. Since no physical evidence could be found to incriminate him, Atkins was charged solely based on Saunders' testimony and his own confession. The trial began in January 1994. Around 150 people, including relatives of Atkins' victims, appeared as witnesses for the prosecution at the court hearings. At one of the hearings, Atkins readily confessed to the murders, but claimed to be insane. For the majority of the trial, he didn't react in any way to what was happening and appeared to be isolating himself from the proceedings. His lawyer demanded leniency towards his client, on the grounds that Atkins had been abused as a child. According to the lawyer, the psychological trauma, coupled with drug addiction, eventually led to his mental, emotional, and behavioral problems. However, after a 4-month trial and 3 days of deliberations, the jury found Benjamin Atkins guilty, and in April of that year, he was sentenced to serve life imprisonment terms. After his conviction, Atkins was transferred to the Charles Eagler Reception and Guidance Center in Jackson, but due to health issues, he was quickly transferred to Duane Waters Hospital, where he died on September 17, 1997, from an AIDS-related illness.
Thank you for listening. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and liking my channel, and I will see you on the next one.